Welcome back to another collection of crashes featuring Seattle drivers who really should have taken the bus instead. No, wait, not like that. Oh boy. Moving on. It appears that speed and inattention were to blame for this nasty crash in South Seattle. Keep an eye on the SUV that got hit. It flips over several times. Thankfully, no serious injuries that I'm aware of. Now, there are an unusually high number of rollover crashes in this compilation. Try to keep track of how many there are because there will be a quiz at the end. A large fire response to help free people from this rolled over SUV. Now, usually the fire department is going to help people out, but occasionally they get caught up in the action themselves. Here we have engine 5 seen on a camera that's a little bit glitchy, but keep an eye on them. They're going to just barely miss getting caught up in this red light collision. They also set a new record for response time as they are on scene immediately. Engine 10 was not so lucky. Watch the bottom of your screen here as they're responding to a fire downtown. Now, the fire engine did have the red light, so technically they were probably at fault for this, but you have to wonder how this white car did not see or hear this fire engine responding. Big shout out to Washington Traffic Camera Responses, a fellow YouTuber, for alerting me to this crash. They've got some great stuff on their channel, so check out a link in the description. We see the crew of Engine 10 going to check on the driver of the car that was hit. The safety chief also pulls over to make sure that everybody is okay. Now, of course, the fire engine has a good excuse for running a red light, but none of these other people do. We've got multiple red light runners in this clip, but that Jeep is the most egregious. They almost flip over, but don't quite make it, so we will not be counting them towards our total of flipped over cars. However, we will be counting the vehicle in the next clip. Nasty crash here at an intersection that we've seen many crashes at. Unclear if it's a design of the intersection or if drivers here just suck. Here's a low-speed crash up in North Seattle, just south of Shoreline. And here's one downtown where somebody whispered, "What if we crashed under the monorail?" And then this happened. Moving on to West Seattle, we have a pretty high-speed crash. Once again, a red light crash, which manages to take out the traffic camera. We are going to count this as a rollover because it looks like that truck was going over when the feed cut out. It took over a month for them to get this traffic camera working again, but they did get that junction box replaced. Speaking of infrastructure destruction, well, it looks like them Duke boys are at it again. Keep an eye on this black car with the passenger door hanging open. This is at the Lower Spokane Street Bridge. They're going to zoom around stopped traffic, through a barricade, and then crash into a more rigid barricade, which kept them from plunging to their death. Here's a zoomed in view. Boom. Could have been a lot worse for the people in that car. The driver was trapped, and once he was freed, he was arrested for DUI and illegal carrying of a pistol. The bridge was closed for 6 days due to damage to the mechanism of the gate arm and the barrier. However, it was fully reopened. We'll remain on the bridge as we pivot to rear-end collisions. Not sure what this driver was doing, but it does not seem to involve looking at the road. Moving to South Seattle again, watch this red pickup truck. They're a little bit slow on the brakes, and that results in a 3-vehicle collision. Same intersection, but coming the other way, we have a car that almost goes left to center and then crashes into a vehicle stopped at a red light. Again, no clue what they were doing, if this was inattention or possibly drugs or alcohol involved. Now watch this car making a right turn on red. They're going to turn into the path of another vehicle that's going way too fast. They get shunted onto the light rail tracks, and that other vehicle, which is probably not technically at fault despite their speed, they're going to flee the scene. Thankfully, a good Samaritan stops to help the car on the tracks. Now watch the right side of your screen. Not sure what's happening here, but we have 2 cars chasing each other out of a parking lot. One of them rams the other one before flipping over, and the car that was rammed crashes into an innocent driver. It appeared as though people from both cars fled on foot, leaving that poor innocent driver stranded there. Not sure what it is with this particular area, but there's always some shenanigans going on. Watch the bottom of your screen. We've got a car at high speed into the barrier. They're going to swerve and then crash into a bus, thankfully at pretty low speed. And once again, we have people fleeing from that car on foot. And continuing our theme of all gas, no brakes, here's a minivan traveling at very high speed that loses control, nearly takes out some pedestrians, and then briefly ends up on the light rail tracks before coming to a stop in the middle of MLK. Moving north to Ballard, this car coming towards the cameras, moving at a pretty good clip. They're approaching a T intersection with no sign of slowing down. They're going to hit another car there before coming to rest just in front of the high school. Thankfully, this happened at night and not during the day when there were students on the sidewalk. Watch this SUV at the bottom of your screen, proving that you don't need speed to do really dumb things in your car. Sometimes all you need to do is go straight into a tree and flip yourself over in the middle of the road. So yes, this will count towards our total of flipped over cars. And cars that hate trees will continue that theme here on the waterfront with somebody going at a straight line into a tree and a power pole. Watch this gray parked car. It's about to come to a sad end from a driver just not paying attention to what's going on in front of them. Even though we see plenty of low speed crashes, high speeds do tend to make things a lot worse. These two cars are traveling very fast for downtown, and even though they're not the ones that ran a red light, because of their speed, that impact was a lot worse. Here's a quick zoomed in view. And here we can see just how bad that impact was as bystanders struggled to get people out of the car that ran the red light. And here's a second batch of red light runners for you. It's SUV, high speed through the red light. That clip cuts off, but we get to see the aftermath on an alternate camera. SUV ending up on its side through no fault of their own. Got another red light for you here at MLK and Graham. Thankfully a minor impact this time. Supposedly the driver that ran the red light had a medical issue. 7th and Denny here. Watch the top of your screen. We have a car just blowing right through a red light and getting hit. Here's one at 4th and Michigan. The red light running car getting spun around. We've seen several crashes at this location as well. Alright, we're going to head back downtown to 3rd and Denny. Watch this car that's driving away from us in the far left lane. They are weaving a little bit. That's because they are drunk. They're going to try to make a right turn from the far left lane, but as you can see, they're going to fail spectacularly at that. They actually ended up upside down. Thank you to Reddit user The Con Man, who shared a pic of their vehicle upside down and gave me permission to use that in this video. And according to them, the driver was arrested for DUI as well. Next, we have some minor lane change crashes. Keep an eye on this red pickup truck. Now, these are a little bit less spectacular, but they're also a good reminder that it just takes a moment of inattention or trying to do something in a hurry without looking around you to lead to a crash. So these people are trying to probably just save a few seconds on their commute, and they're going to end up spending hours dealing with insurance and repairs and being stuck on the scene. And here's a lane change that's going to send a taxi into oncoming traffic. Thankfully, they were not traveling at high speed, so they were able to recover pretty fast. Okay, watch this car on the far left. They're going to change their mind about exiting and cut somebody off. The car they cut off hits the brakes, but the car behind them cannot stop in time, and they get rear-ended. Meanwhile, the driver that caused all of it flees the scene. Now, if there's one thing Seattle drivers love, it's crashing into the back of each other, and we have 3 different crashes on the same camera on different days. These are all a little bit distant, but watch here for their first one. Right into the back of stopped traffic. Same situation here at the top of your screen. Colliding into cars that should be very visible, and one more. Watch the cars that are coming to a stop. It's a pretty hard hit. The camera is so disgusted that it shuts itself off. Rainier is also a classic location for our cut-through crashes. Watch this car trying to cross all lanes of traffic, not seeing another car speeding down the bus lane with very obvious expected results. Still on the south end, watch this pickup truck. It's going to turn left, ignoring a no left turn arrow. We all see what's coming, but this pickup truck does not. Luckily for them, fairly minor collision. Didn't look like there was much damage and no injuries. Now, I think we'd all agree that Seattle drivers are pretty terrible, but I recently gained access to traffic camera footage from Bellevue, a city just to the east, and I am gratified to report that the drivers in Bellevue are also very, very bad at driving. Now, I suppose it's possible that these are all Seattle drivers that are on the east side of the lake for the day, but that seems statistically unlikely. Now, the quality from Bellevue is not quite as good, so I won't be featuring these in every compilation, but if there are especially spectacular ones, I'll be sharing them here with you. Today we have someone going way too fast on surface streets, colliding with another vehicle making a left turn. Here we have a left turn fail to yield as the light turns yellow. And here we have someone totally failing to turn left, colliding with the curb, and then crashing head-on into a truck. Here's looking at you, Bellevue. Moving back to Seattle for just a few more clips, here we have a glitchy camera, but it's a Prius versus a Tesla, and that was too good to pass up. Moving on to Soto, watch this SUV here. Unsure if this is a medical issue or possibly drugs or alcohol, but they go left to center and crash right into a bus. Thankfully, it was at pretty slow speeds. Here's a clip from the Ballard Bridge. It's a little bit hard to see what's happening because of the headlights. We have a car getting shunted into oncoming traffic. That's a pretty hard head-on collision. Thankfully, no serious injuries that I heard about, but that did block traffic for quite a while. Now, we don't see what causes this initial spin out on Aurora Avenue, but here's what we do see. We see a driver getting out of her car in the middle of the highway, walking around in the lanes of traffic, despite what looks to be very minor damage after a very minor collision. This is incredibly dangerous. As you can see, Aurora Avenue is a pretty high-speed road. The speed limit is 40, but people often go quite a bit faster. If you ever find yourself in this situation, please do not get out of your car. Do not stand between your car and oncoming traffic. If your car cannot be moved and you don't feel safe in your car, definitely get out of the roadway. Please don't put yourself in this situation. It's extremely unsafe. And we'll go downtown for our very last clip. Watch the top of your screen. Hard to tell who has the red light here, but somebody does, and that leads to a pretty hard collision. That is the last crash in this collection. So as always, thank you for watching. I beg you to put your phones down and pay attention to the road. And speaking of paying attention, were you able to count how many rollover collisions there were in this video? If so, leave your answer in the comments below, and I will pick 1 or 2 people and give a shout out in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.